Well, it's time to try and make history as Southend United. The biggest moment of the save, the moment that we didn't think would be coming this soon. It is our first ever Champions League final. We played the most successful side ever in Champions League history in Real Madrid later today. But first, we get to have a fun run out against Manchester United. And I've already got the sour grape shirt on, just in case it all goes wrong. Yes, hello and welcome along to part 132 of Saving Southend with me, Daniel. We are back today for what is now a formality on the final day of the season against United, albeit they're still battling for 8th and the potential at a chance at the Europa Conference. We then also face Real Madrid in a Champions League final, the one we're all waiting for. And of course then we will have the season review. Potentially after this episode of the normal competitions, there may only be the Carabao Cup that we've never won before. If you're looking forward to finding out whether that is the case or whether the Champions League remains on the bucket list, then please do put a thumbs up on it. As you remember last time out, we just about secured the title, despite the fact we then lost the FA Cup final against Newcastle. And I guess you could say if we do lose the Champions League one as well, great that we've been in all of the finals this year, but it would be pretty disappointing if you lost all of them. So let's go and get straight through to the first of today's two matches. You can see we've picked up a few injuries with Fair, Torres and Hansen. There's also a few more in the medical centre struggling. Teddy Ivanov not quite back yet, but both him and Fair may be available next week. Particularly Ivanov, Torres should be there as well, and Hansen touch and go. If we go through to the fixtures, I'm not taking any risks today. We are still going to play a fairly strong team. But anywhere where there's a doubt about a player or there's not prime conditioning, anything like that, they're out. The only original in the United team is Trubin, the old goalkeeper from Ukraine. And then at the back, they've got Connor at left back, who we looked at signing before. But most of those other originals have moved on. I think Mainu is still at the club, so maybe the only surprise that he's not in. If we go through to the team selection, you can see what I've done. In addition to the ones we mentioned from the injury screen, we have also dropped out Armin Memic, who is not fully fit and conditioned after injury, and Joe Wills, who is struggling a little bit. And with only two strikers fit, I'm not taking a risk. And it means we've got this team today. I've also dropped Robertson and Bernberg to the bench. I've gone for younger options where possible. And it means that Mikey Magwood, the star of the youth intake this year, will make his first start for the football club. Not his best role, not his best position, and he won't carry much of a threat. But he scored that lovely third goal last time as we wrapped up the title. And it's going to be a great moment for him to go away to Old Trafford and start your first Premier League game. What a touch it is. We've also taken the chance to bring in younger players to the team. So McNaughton comes in goal. We've gone for Vite at centre-half just to give Herbert a rest. We brought Ukulano in, but we've also brought in Marciano and Kivrakidis. So it's very much a youthful-looking side. And to be fair, I would have even rested Ashley Carr if we'd had another striker fit. Worcester will probably still get half an hour. So this is the 11 in full for today. It is McNaughton between the sticks, Aguiman and Carlos the fullbacks, with Vite and Rakowski a centre-half, Ukulano and Vasquez the wingers, Kivrakidis and Marciano in the middle, and then Mikey Magwood, his first ever start alongside Ashley Carr up front. We've got 6 days off after this one, so no real pressure physically. Let's go and get through to it. A big day for us and a huge day for Mikey Magwood. Well, here we are with 7 changes made, and it is United just resting people. In fact, you can see they've dropped out the likes of Mainu, who's not even on the bench today. I was going to wonder, actually, are they maybe in a Europa final or anything? Right, that's why. So they've just played the Europa League final on Wednesday night. They've battered Newcastle 4-1. Vert scored a hat-trick, Sarpe scored, Mainu was brilliant for them. So they're actually just rotating to rest people. They've guaranteed Champions League football next year already. Doesn't matter that they're 9th. Pochettino is winning trophies down there. So that's why we've got a slightly weaker version of United. But they've got a slightly weaker version of us as well. Bart Verbruggen, the only name you might recognise on the bench. They've got 2 original goalkeepers from Football Manager 24. So let's see how we go into the first half of this one. I'm not expecting or caring about the result. I want the performance to be pretty tasty. And Mikey Magwood, if he could get a goal, would be lovely. And did you see the guard of honour there? What a lovely touch from United, cheering us on for our final game. That will have pained them to do that to Southend United. 10 minutes on the clock, we've got a corner kick. We've also got the return of the hazy match engine, haven't we? Let's see out this highlight and then we'll change it back. Magwood to Marciano. Time in possession, finds Jan Carlos. Looks down the left-hand side, Vite's there. Carlos picks it up again. And it's back to Kivrakidis, to Vasquez. Wide down the left-hand side, plenty of space to run into. Not really being pressured a lot. It's back to Kivrakidis, and there's so much space. Into Magwood, it's a great save. And he almost gets his first goal in his first start. And I know he scored one off the bench, but he's not had a start yet. And if he could have got one from the first 11, that would have been magic. Yocolano, as it is, puts the corner in. Aguiman misses out. I said I'll change it after the highlight, and it's a never-ending one. Aguiman now holds the ball up. He's forced back 30 yards. Right, let's just click out and back in. Because then, hopefully, there we go. The tone of the background resets itself. And now, I'm regretting every decision I've ever made. I said the only one I didn't rest that I wanted to was Ashley Carr. That is a big problem for next weekend. Why did I not just play Casey Worcester? I'm going to now, but Teddy Ivanov is going to get thrown straight back in because there aren't any other options. We've now got an injury to Vasquez. Are United just going around kicking us for something? Starting to look like a little bit of a physical aggressive job here, isn't it? Adamson's on a left wing. I didn't really want him to play 70 minutes either. He's probably played the most of anyone this season because Vasquez was injured so long. And while we're dominating the game, you can see it from the stats at the top. This has been a disastrous first half. I would have rather have lost 1-0 and kept everyone fit than to even dominate and win the match and potentially be without anyone for next week, which it looks like is now the case. We've also got a youth striker and a championship level player up front. So despite the fact we're dominating, I don't see where the goal comes. And there isn't anything else on the bench bar Joaquin Jimenez, who's a midfielder that can do a job up there. As the ball comes into the box, only other one we could have put up front was Vasquez. He's come off injured as well. As Pitbull cuts it back, Adamson nicks it. Now can we break away with the midfield options? Held up by Magwood, but he's not strong enough there. This level, on a consistent basis, is a bit too good for him for now. We're into 4 minutes of added time in the first half as Aguiman throws into Marciano. Big ball forward, but Magwood not able to get there. And this downfield from Josef. Big switch of play. We'll probably end up losing this one, won't we? Into Harry. Taps in for 1-0. It's really frustrating. Aguiman's made the mistake, but we're behind at the break. And it's so against the run of play. It's their second shot on target. We've absolutely dominated. But we're down to the 5th and 6th choice striker. And that just ain't going to help us. Going to ask the boys to prove a point. We'll give it 15 before making more subs. Well, I won't make it 15 minutes. I've got no choice. For the third time in the game, we're going to lose our break. It's the final stoppage we're permitted, and Kivrakidis is injured. So what the hell do I do now? I'm going to go Joaquin Jimenez on in central midfield. I'm going to bring Roy Curley on just to protect Jan Carlos at left back. And then I'd be tempted to go for Aguiman on the right, but again, there's no subs there. So where I look next, I don't know. This is a day that is not going to plan so far. I think you can say that safely. I might chuck on Jorg Robertson out on the right-hand side. He's elite. Maybe gives us an option that Yocolano hasn't in this game. But 5 changes made after 50 minutes because of 3 injuries. And that is very unpleasant and unwelcome at this point. An hour approaching. We're still 1-0 down in a game we've been the better team. But Magwood, alongside Casey Worcester, is not going to be the Premier League solution. We need Joe Wills to be fine next week. We need that Ashley Carr injury ideally to not be bad. But more importantly, we need Teddy Ivanov fit. And we could do with Memic being there as well, because Aguiman is really struggling. 10 minutes to go. The second half has flown by quietly. We'll see out this highlight, then we'll go attack him. But I'm not sure where the goal comes from up there. As Robertson plays a 1-2 with Aguiman on the right. Just looking for someone to run in behind. Casey Worcester tries to be that man. He's not a Premier League level player, but that's a decent cross. Magwood up, never going to win it. And it's away as far as Begovic, and now Glover. United could make it 2 on a break, put the final nail in the coffin here. As I said though, I'll trade it for a win next week as Henry's in for 2. I'm going to switch the strikers round here. I'm really annoyed by this, just because of the injuries as well. If I'd known it was going to go like this, I would have just chucked Worcester in from the start. And the fact that United have grabbed a 2-0 win out of this when they've played so poorly. It better not be a sign of things to come next week. Hopefully it'll be a complete flip of the last episode where we were brilliant in the league and then awful in the cup final. Hopefully this will all be worthwhile. United win, completely undeserved. But we haven't got the strikers to take the chances. We need them for next week. Wills and Ivanov, please be fit. And Ashley Carr, don't be a bad injury. Let's go and see how bad that one is. And then we'll get through to the Champions League final. It is 3 to 4 weeks. He's out. Fantastic. Kivrakidis, 7 days. Just enough to be out as well. Casey Worcester's goal drought. Don't even bother me. And Jan Carlos, absolutely knackered. Huge fitness concern. It's all looking good ahead of the Champions League final, isn't it? We could be without 7 or 8 first-team players. Back in a moment to face Real Madrid. The final and crowning moment of this season. Well, it's fitness test time ahead of the Champions League final, and I'm being rushed into more decisions now as well because there are a lot of smatterings in the media about potential takeover news. Jack Power, our current owner, took over late in the first season, and we've had him ever since. Now he's looking at moving on. I'm sure he'll make a nice profit on that National League club he inherited, and it's going to be going into other hands. But the problem is, the transfer window's coming up in the summer, and there are 1 or 2 targets I want to get in, so I'm going to have to rush that after the Champions League final. For now, though, it's a case of which strikers are fit. Well, not Nana Fair, he's failed his fitness test. Not Ashley Carr, he's still injured. But Teddy Ivanov has apparently got 75 in him, so it's basically win or bust before the 90-minute mark. Ivo Torres available as well, but Kivrakidis is out. Memic might be fit. It's not the perfect squad we were hoping for on a game like this. Real Madrid, the most successful side in the history of the Champions League. Not what you want to be facing. Oh, and I forgot. I completely forgot. Look who their centre forward is. Dion Kranjic, who we sold there in January. 170 million, and he's the star striker. Up with him, you've got Hendrick. You've got Jude Bellingham in midfield. And Restes in goal. But up front, it's Dion Kranjic. Oh, he's just going to score the winner. I'm telling you now. Yeah, I'm more than happy to be wrong. You can go against me if you want. Dion Kranjic will score the winning goal in this game. I'm telling you it, 100%. Let's have a look at the team we can put out. I think we have got 12 subs. The options at left back are dwindling. Carlos is not quite fit, but I'm going to play him for this one. Adamson has to play on the left because Vasquez, he's not in perfect nick. Although that's interesting. They're telling me to play Vasquez up front. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to play Wills and Ivanov. And I'm going to leave Vasquez on the bench for Adamson so I can bring him on up front. Ivo Torres is being recommended to start, but I don't think I can gamble both of them. So I'm going to go for Marciano in that midfield role. That means our 11 in full is going to look like this because yes, it is going to be Sadler in goal. And yes, it is going to be Memic at right back. It is Jude Sadler with Memic and Carlos the fullbacks. Herbert back in the skipper alongside Rakowski at centre half. Robertson and Adamson on the wings returning from the last game. Marciano joined by Bernberg this time. And up front, the returning Teddy Ivanov, still the top scorer this season, with Joe Wills, the only other man to get 20 alongside. Into the Champions League final for the first time in our history. Fingers crossed. That's all I can say. Well, here we go. We know how good this Real Madrid side is. I don't think there's any other familiar names on the bench, but there's plenty in the team. Both 2 original stars, Bellingham still going as skipper, and Dion Kranjic, one of the greatest goal scorers in our club's history. Let's go and prove we're winners into the first half of this. It is time for the Champions League final, and with it, the Champions League music. We've got to have it for the final, haven't we? Will it be a disaster? Remember, when we went to our Europa League final, the only one we've been in Europe so far, we managed to get a good result in that one, despite the fact we were 2 down in 3 minutes. We then won it 4-3 in a thriller. Can we do it in the Champions League? The graphics are lovely. The players arrive. Where's it being held? I didn't even look, did I? It looks a big old stadium, as you would expect. But this is going to be a daunting task. We're not the favourites by any means. It's our first ever Champions League final. And all I ask is that we don't freeze. Where is it being held? That's the final question I want to know. Olympia Stadion. Oh, okay, it's in Berlin. Well, there's a lovely setting for it. Let's get through the first 5 minutes. We're already 2 goals better off than we were in the Europa League final that time. But Real Madrid are on the front foot with a Correa free kick. They've got an extra man over in the box. And Correa, thankfully, goes selfish. Goes for the shot, which is just over. And we survive it. A quiet 10 minutes. Is it going to be one of our famous boring cup finals? You wouldn't rule it out, would you? Well, both fullbacks on a yellow card for us. But we've got a corner kick with 20 gone. Herbert heads it just over. It is such a big threat for us, those set pieces. Herbert not able to make anything of it. Still no shot on target for us. Just the one in the whole game. It's been a really quiet half an hour. And all we're seeing is Real Madrid putting free kicks over the bar. Which, to be fair, in this situation, I would take. The longer it's level, the longer I think it suits us. And it's just whether we can deliver anything late in the game. We do love a late goal. We've got a few fatigue legs out there. And Jensen reduces the ball down to Hendrick. And there's 5 in the middle for Real Madrid. They're committing numbers forward. Back to Diamandi on the edge of the box. And he puts it in the top corner. Sadler can't get near it. Real Madrid lead. I had a bad feeling going into this game. And I've got the feeling even more so now. Not a good performance so far. Real Madrid the better side and deservedly ahead. We've won the ball back with Ryan Adamson on the left. Finds Herbert. Now Marciano in the middle. Up to Joe Wills, who should be fresh here. Bernberg finds Marciano again. We're being forced backwards. Wills does well though. Only goes as far as Herbert. And now Giancarlos. Breaking down the left. Adamson will chase. Wills is arriving in the middle. As should be Teddy Ivanov. Up at the back stick. Keeper misses it. Goalkeeper's had an absolute stinker, Restes. And Teddy Ivanov back from over a month out. And he does what he does best. He's 27th for the season. We almost sold him last summer because we thought we had 4 better strikers. What a stupid decision that would have been. I mean, I've got to be fair here. I've got lucky because Ivanov would be nowhere near this team. Probably wouldn't be at this club if Kranjic was still here and if we hadn't had other injuries. Let's get through the dressing room. Prove a point, boys. You're doing all right here. We're back in the final. Ivanov's got the goal. Yes, he can't play extra time if we go there. And they've hooked Kranjic at half-time. That's a big decision. The 170 million signing in January. Dion Kranjic has been hooked at half-time, our former player. He won't be scoring the winner against us. 20 minutes have flown by in the second half. It's been a quiet one. I'm going to gamble on some subs now. Carlos is coming off at left back for De Angelis. Jorg Robertson is coming off on the right of midfield for Uccolano. And Marciano is coming off for the returning Ivo Torres. Don't do what you did in the League Cup final, please. 20 minutes remaining. The stats are identical. But we've got a corner kick and we know we're a threat from them. Up at the back post, we've got Herbert, who wins the header and puts it just wide. I was already celebrating. I thought it was going to be the moment for the big man. But it's not to be, as Ivanov loses the ball up front and he's starting to run out of steam. Renier picks it up for Ben Seguir. We've just had a good spell, but will it be too little too late? Bellingham's got the chance on the edge. Great ball in. And Memic, I was about to take you off and you've given away a stupid penalty. He's just a bit tired after a long old recovery from injury. And I'm going to bring on Agyeman, but I think it's too late. We're going to be behind by the time he arrives. Joe Will's not happy. He's knackered. Ivanov the same as Bellingham sends Sadler the wrong way. The two Judes go head to head. But it is Bellingham who comes out on top. 15 to go. I just made the sub 2 minutes too late. I've become reactive, and that's not a good sign at this point. Let's encourage the boys, though. Let's go attacking. What more can we do with 5 to go? I don't want to take either striker off. They're too important at this stage. I could bring on Vasquez for Adamson. I think I might do that. Let's go for it. Luis Vasquez, fresh legs out wide. Get to the byline. Get a cross in. They don't have to be running Ivanov and Wills. They just have to be in the box. We know we've opened ourselves up. We may concede another. We've got to go for it. There's 2 minutes plus stoppage time. Is it going to be the 3rd cup final heartbreak this season? Or can Teddy Ivanov do something to arriving in the middle? Ivanov to the byline. Cuts it back to Uccolano. Ivanov again. Back to the edge to Bernberg. We're going the wrong way. Back to Rakowski, the centre half. And the momentum's gone. Agyeman's forced backwards again. Do not go to the keeper. We're back in our own half. Oh my God. How have they forced us back 100 yards there? That is so poor. Rakowski gets the ball into Torres. Up to Joe Wills. Runner is Vasquez. Ivanov's in the middle, but it's Luis Vasquez. Oh, the sub almost delivered. Brilliant save. And it's behind for a corner kick. In swinging delivery to come from Joe Wills. Not really the man I want on it in truth. And he gets up to the back post. Herbert's there, but Restes punches. Vasquez commits a silly foul. And there's only 4 minutes added. This does not look good for us. Will we get one more chance? It's been a completely even game. But it is Real Madrid who win the Champions League. We're going to hear it again. Heartbreak for the third time in the final here. This is so devastating. For the third time, look at Jude carrying that trophy. It should have been our Jude, not theirs. 3 cup finals, 3 defeats. We lose our first ever Carabao Cup final. We lose our second ever FA Cup final. And we lose our first ever Champions League final. A season of frustration for Southend United. But it gives us something to chase still, doesn't it? Let's get through to the season review, where we can reflect on what has been a brilliant season in getting to all the finals. A disappointment in losing them. Well, here it is, a season that, to be fair, has been remarkable in its own way. We've played in every possible game we could. The Champions League, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Community Shield and the Premier League. Instead of 5 trophies in this screen note, we've only got a Premier League title and a Community Shield to show for it. Not been the best of seasons in that regard, but plenty of positives in there too. The money we've spent this year, we've spent wisely. Marciano and Aguiman have added a lot to the team. Vite's a good young player, and Nana Fair, for a third of the price, looks a great replacement for Kranjic. We also got our club record fee of 170 million, 50 million for Sanchez, where we tripled our money, and loads of money in for João Gomez and for John Nussum too. Loans out, a few players that might feature in the future. For Kieran Peacock, the one we'll need to make a decision on. The season's results, well, we won it by a point in the end in the Premier League, but we did it with a game spare and then rested people. Ashley Carr scored 14 in the league, which was the top scorer. We really missed someone getting 20 or 25 this time. In the Champions League, a great run to the final. Despite 2 early defeats in the group stages, we lost to Real Madrid when it matters most, and ultimately, it's still a failure. In the FA Cup, we lost to Newcastle in the final after a really tricky run in truth. In the Carabao Cup, again, not the easiest of runs, but a Liverpool defeat in the final thanks to that god-awful back pass from Torres. In the Community Shield, we beat Newcastle. We beat them every time, apart from the FA Cup final, where we just disintegrated. Let's go and get through the moments to remember. A 7-0 win against Southampton, the biggest on Boxing Day. A 2-1 win against Liverpool in the FA Cup. A great performance and a brilliant response 3 days after losing the Carabao Cup to them. And then goal of the season in the away game against Southampton, Luis Vasquez putting in a rocket. That was just a few weeks ago. 4.5-star reputation for the club, bundles of money coming in. Fair is already in the top 5 shirt sellers. Bernberg's still in there for some reason. Wills and Ivanov, though, the old tried and trusted. They're the two that keep delivering. The team of the season, Teddy Ivanov is in. Kivrakidis is in ahead of Bernberg. Soren Hansen is in ahead of Rakowski. And the rest of the team, well, Aguiman for Memic may be a surprise too, but the rest of the team largely picks itself. It's pretty hard to find a poor performer these days, isn't it? Everyone over 6.9. The accolades, well, highest ever transfer fee received, youngest ever goal scorer in Mikey Magwood. Have we finally, in our 15th season, found a youth star who's going to become a proper player for us? Fingers crossed he will be. Logan McNaughton wins Young Player of the Season as he gets more involved at first team level. And Joe Wills was the star man again, despite Nana Fair coming to try and take his crown at the halfway mark. Let's go and get through to history in the making. 2 trophies on the board, but one of them's a Glory 5 friendly, and one of them, the league title, was only just. We also missed out on 3 others only just. A very disappointing season because we were so close, but it still means going into season 16, we have not won a Carabao Cup and we have not won a Champions League. 2 crowns for us still to chase. Let's have a look at the club vision. Challenge for the title next year and reach the latter stages of the Champions League. I would like to hope so. Supporter profile update. We are growing all the time, and a Champions League final will, of course, bring a bit more worldwide, certainly continental acclaim. And the fans are very happy with how we're going on, albeit the club vision these days only actually a B rather than the A's. We've set the bar too high, I think. But for now, a very disappointing season because we missed out on doing a clean sweep by 3 cup final defeats. We got to the final match in all of them. We pushed this squad to the limit. But at least we've got something to show for it in a Premier League title. We got closer to the teams below. We didn't get as many points. We're going to need to try and retain that next year to beat Pep's record with City. If you did enjoy this season, then please do put a thumbs up on it. Let me know how much closer you've come to a clean sweep across all competitions. If you want to stay up to date with our summer transfer window, see if there's a takeover, which will be in 4 days' time, because of course the next episode is going to be our 15-year bookmark. We stop off every 5 years in these long-term stories and have a look at the footballing world. We'll We'll do exactly the same in the next episode here before we progress on to season 16. I'll see you in a few days' time for that. In the meantime, you can find in the eye above the links to the Coach's Head, where we joined a new club in the last week or so. Come and see how we're getting on there. There's also links to the Twitch channel for the regular live streams, the football podcast for loads of EFL action, and so much more. Thank you very much for your support as always, as we got so close this season. Season 15 almost became the historic one, but as it is, we're still chasing our first success in 2 more remaining competitions.